This is MJ Munoz. I'm a author, artist, and podcaster, reviewer of comic books and such things. Anyway, I am back with Swinging Through Comics, episode 49. I'm here to talk about The Rise of Ultraman number 3, or to keep with my tradition of how I've been saying it, Ultraman, The Rise of Ultraman number 3. Anyway, this is the latest thing. It just came out yesterday as I'm speaking, which was the 4th, Wednesday, November 4th, 2020. Tsuburaya and Marvel Comics Productions, Tsuburaya Productions and Marvel Comics collaboration, bringing Ultraman, their old giant tokusatsu superhero from... was the original Ultraman? I know the original writer was 60 or 72. I kind of think the original Ultraman show came out in like 69. But don't quote me on that. Anyway, we have a story here of a man becoming an Ultra, making a contract with a man. Let me give you the details on who exactly the creatives were behind this, though, before I get too much further into it. So, the writers were Kyle Higgins, and Matt Groom. The artist is Francesco Manna. The colorist, or color artist, is Espen Grundetjean. And we had lettering done by this Ariana Maher. Anyway, I really liked, and the cover, apparently the original cover is by Jorge Molina, and I like the original cover. It's very cool. It's pretty neat. I'm going to talk about it for just a second. So, I liked the idea of it. It shows, like, USP agents against Ultraman, which they're not technically in this episode, but, you know, spiritually I think they are. They're definitely trying to use Ultraman, or, I mean, they had, the USP had Shin shoot the Ultra last time, so they're very worried about these aliens coming in, and they want to stop them. So, anyway, yeah, the cover's evocative of the right thing, or of the things that transpired in the issue. So I'm happy with that. It gets like and it looks really good too. So I'd give the cover appearance, like, I'll be generous, I'll give it a 10 out of 10. I was gonna say 9 out of 10. Just for the art, the execution of it, or the idea that it represents, is also pretty darn good. Like, I'd give that like a 9 out of 10. Because there's some kaiju fighting in here, but really it's almost like the kaiju fighting is more background type stuff. So, anyway, Manna did some really interesting stuff in here. I liked how, I don't know, how like nice and clean the art is. The cars, the buildings, the planes, the forest and stuff like that, all looks very real. Like, I'm sure there's some photo reference going on there. The faces, I think, were a lot more consistent this time. There was a lot of emotion shown in them. But then, like, there's this house where this old scientist lives, and I don't know what technology he developed for the USP, but he basically wants nothing to do with them now. And actually, is he with them currently or not? It's a little hard to tell. But anyway, in the last issue, when Fuji went in there was like blood splatter all over the place, and like nobody could see it. I kind of think that was like the audience being able to see kaiju stuff, or stuff that would draw kaiju, because the Ultra tells Shin that this guy is full of resentment and distrust and things like that, and those negative feelings are like a beacon to the kaiju. They call them through, so maybe they've been like clustering around his place, trying to break through because of how, thick his resentment is. But then there's also like this weird image that Manna drew of like his tree has a house growing out of it, growing through it. I'm not 100% sure, or if that's supposed to be like evocative of or representative of the like kaiju being drawn to it, because the like branches, or like the crown of the tree, it looks like it's coming out of the top of the building. You can't really see much detail beyond that. But the roots, or I guess the root and trunk of the tree, if that is in fact what they are like covering the building, almost like they're crawling on top of it. It's very strange. It looks very creepy, and I would want to go into that house, I think. But it'd be funny to see from a different angle if the creepy trunk and vine or whatever are not supposed to be part of the tree. They're supposed to be like, kaiju goop covering it, and I can't quite tell. But anyway, it looks good. There's a really, really awesome picture of Ultraman after Shin transforms with the beta capsule. The beta capsule turns you into an alpha male. Anyway, I'm so sorry, guys. But yeah, I mean, it looks super cool. I mean, he's like super ripped. The design of his suit like really comes to life. I've always thought the Ultraman design is pretty slick, pretty interesting, but it looks really good in 2D in comic form. And gosh, I don't know, man. It looks really fantastic. So lots of kudos on the art. It looks really good. There's a couple little fight scenes, and it's good motion. I've never seen an Ultraman fight quite as energetic. Because the only thing I didn't like is like there's a little bit of blur on Ultraman's eyes, and I can't tell if that's supposed to be just from speed. Because it seems like he'll, like Manna will do the like speed blur lines on Ultraman even when he's like still. So like right here, if you're looking at the video version of this, he's standing still, and he's got this cool thing where he's like coming through from the ephemera or the ether or whatever, because he's not really there, but they draw him there in the background, and there's little like blur lines and stuff on his body, but they're also on his eyes. But I just wanted to kind of compare, because it looks like when he's doing the big flippy kick on this kaiju that his eyes extend out, which like some ultras have that kind of design where their eyes aren't just contained to the little almond semicircle set. They kind of branch out in different ways. I think I've seen that anyway. But yeah, so the art was really good. Like I like a lot of what's going on here. There's this really cool, and then there's this really cool page where Shin is talking to, I can't remember the commander's name. Oh, Muramatsu. He's talking to Muramatsu, and he's telling him that he's now more capable than Muramatsu thought or would suspect or whatever. And they do a really cool classic thing where it's half ultra face, half human face. And I don't know where else that was done, but I always think of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. That's where I see that, and my heart is with Spider-Man, so I dig it. Also, he's got the eye blur going on right here, even though his body doesn't have any of that effect to show that he's like breaking through the other dimension or whatever. He does have that. Anyway, I like the healthy skepticism that Shin presents here, and that the Ultra told him about the USP. Very good stuff. You should always question people, and I like that. But even as Shin is questioning the narrative and whatnot, and he's trying to rescue Fuji, like he's holding on to the idea that he and the Ultra are only going to do good and what's right, and they're not going to be deceived and fooled into doing something that they shouldn't be doing, especially because the Ultra's ship was, or his, what did he call it? Like his transportation sphere, I think is what he called it, which is a fun name. Like he doesn't want to get bitten by these guys again if they are in fact bad actors, which they probably are, right? Anyway, I've got no I'm just kind of like gonna seriously pivot now. So I like the comic overall. I already told you I like the art a bunch, and I like what's going on with the story. Fuji happened to be fighting a kaiju because it imprinted on her, which like we got a couple cool lore items dropped in here that really pleased me because they just kind of made it all more exciting. But anyway, Fuji had a kaiju imprint on her when it first fully came through the dimensional rift or whatever. It imprinted on her, so like even if she flees, it'll be able to track her, like her scent or who knows what, some sort of energy signal, and it'll just reappear and stalk her until it's killed her. So she's trying to fight it with her K-ray, and this is, I don't count this as synopsizing because it's not. I'm just kind of giving some details. Anyway, so the Ultra tells Shin not to use the K-ray. He said, like, fighting kaiju is a difficult thing, and anything that makes it appear as if it is too simple is something we should avoid. And then he says, you can use my power. Not only can I give you information, but I'll be able to give you power to fight. So hold on to the K-ray being, not exactly what we think it is. And it being dangerous because of how easily it dispatches kaiju, which the Ultra says is supposed to be something super difficult. Anyway, then he's going to give him his power to help him out, to fight. But he tells him, because our union was imperfect, because I was so severely injured, which, by the way, he was injured by the K-ray, so I'm about to say something, and then I'm kind of opening up a plot hole for myself. Interesting. Or, for the comic. Anyway, imperfect bond between Shin and the Ultra makes it so that he can only be Ultraman for 3 minutes at a time, which is traditional in the Ultra thing. But I wonder if, like, that's traditional. They have the orb on their chest. It's called a color timer from all the way back in the day. And I don't know how strong that's going to persist. That's from the Tokusatsu, of course, the live action stuff. But this is, it's even in the manga. Well, it's not really. So I'll be interested to see how exactly they get around that, or if they're going to keep that restriction to keep things more exciting, because they sure do for here and now, which I'm fine with. So anyway, it's nice that it adds a sense of urgency, but also beyond that, the fact that they can only do it for 3 minutes at a time. The Ultra also told Shin that their compatibility, their bond will only last for a certain amount of time. And it's funny, we get like, it's almost like a video game. This ring with 100%, and then it ends up going down to 99.3% during the fight. It might go a little bit lower when he does the Spectra Ray, or Specium Ray. I don't know. But anyway, so like, it's cool that the, by the way, I got to come back to alpha male and beta male, and then delta male. Anyway, it's interesting that, so I like the fact that there's this mistrust of the USP. There's this mystery, not mystery, it's the mystery of where is Fuji, which is very simply solved. But things are going to escalate because she heard stuff from this doctor that it was a professor that she was talking to who developed a bunch of technology for the USP. So I'm totally into this, by the way, if you can't tell already. So very engaging. This is a hard recommend. Go get it now. Super fun stuff. A lot of action, a little bit of build up, decent amount of lore. Could have been more action, but I'm interested in the background stuff that's going on, because that, like, action is just action if there's nothing compelling, if there's nothing anchoring you and tethering you to the thing, and I think that that's all being done here. So anyway, the stakes are getting higher. He can only be Ultraman for 3 minutes, and every time that they become Ultraman, it's going to weaken their bond, and like during the fight, I think too, it's also weakening their bond. So you have this double thing. So basically Shin's like, oh, so I got to be super careful and do this very sparingly. It's interesting to me. It's wonderful. It raises the stakes. Oh, and once their tenuous link is severed, they might both die. Like, this is an unprecedented event. So the Ultra tells them, like, yeah, we could die. I don't know for sure, but it's very likely that we'll die. And I'm sorry that, we have to be like this. Of course, they could take the coward's way out and not fight any kaiju and just avoid the kaiju crisis. And then eventually Shin would probably end up dying, and the Ultra too, or maybe he'd be released from him somehow. I don't know how that works. But like, I don't think the Ultra could force, or maybe he could force, that'd be interesting. If Shin decided to be a coward and refuse to fight, could the Ultra step forward, take over, knock Shin out, and do the thing? I think that's a really great question. I don't know, but I'd love to know. Any Ultraman fans, you can chime in. Like in SSS.Gridman, that basically happens. Gridman takes over this kid, like, entirely, to the point that the kid has no memories. And I believe in the original Ultraman, Ultraman, or the Ultra whatever, leaves somehow, and Shin Hayata is left without his memories of what happened, I think. That's what it feels like to me. Anyway, like I said, I'm not an expert on this stuff, but anyway, I talked about how the art is good, how the stakes are good, how and they're increasing and getting better and higher and more important, and like, ultimately, if he ends up dying in a kaiju encounter before he can fix things, the kaiju crisis is going to come to Earth, and then everybody's dead. So like, Ultraman has to stay alive. Shin and the Ultra have to maintain and figure out how they're going to do this. And I don't know if while they're fighting, while they're bonded, like while the Ultra's essence is inside of Shin, if he can somehow heal and then be released from that, because he was like a giant being of light earlier, not like a small person contained in a body. So we'll have to see how exactly that happens. Anyway, getting back to the alpha male, beta male, delta male. It's really interesting that so I don't really understand the whole alpha male thing, except for it's supposed to be like tough guys, and like, betas are, they have secondary, alpha, beta, 1, 2, first, second, primary, secondary. They have like less desirable traits, and it's supposed to be like animal stuff. But then I hear people say like, oh, that doesn't really exist in me. I don't know. I'm not an ologist, so like, I don't study those things. But I think I already made the joke that I'm, I'm something else. And I was thinking, I'm a delta male. I'm a divine male. I seek, to fuse godliness with my masculinity and whatever. And I'm, a father and husband and whatnot. So like, to me, I don't need to go around parading and I got a little chub, but I worked out this morning. I've been working out like for 4 or 5 days consecutive and shifting my diet and stuff. And I'm like putting in the work every single day to, to ascend and to make myself better and stronger. And I'm working on side hustles and stuff like that to provide better for my family. So like, yeah, you don't need to be a jerk destroying people in order to be, a strong man with desirable traits or whatever. I landed my wife when I was a weaker man with less desirable traits, but she saw something good enough in me to accept, and I got to live up to that now. So I'm hustling, trying to make that happen as much as I can in every possible way. And I think like the point of that all very much is related to what's going on here, is that the Ultra tells Shin at one point that like in the first issue, at the very end of the first issue. It was the very end of the second issue. You have to be able to ascend beyond what you are now. You have to go beyond your limits. Like me and my people have done that. We have become Ultra, which that's where that comes from, because we have gone beyond the standard limits of most beings, most sentients in the universe. We, reject the negative, we accept the positive, and we find some way to balance all that, balancing the universal and the particular and all these different things. And it's like it's a challenge and it's a difficult thing. And Shin asks for the chance to do that. And, that's what he's trying to do now. But, like, there is action that needs to happen. He needs to fight. He needs to stop these kaiju. And, he has to kill them at some point. And I'm a little confused as to how it was supposed to go, because the Ultra would go from planet to planet. Anyway, and if they could ascend a populace, they would. And then I don't know if that would just like stop the kaiju from coming at all, but it seemed like if it was a barbaric set of people, like cavemen or whatever, just working on their base instincts, they wouldn't be able to ascend that people, so they would have to, I don't know if they'd have to fuse with one of them to fight off the kaiju, or if they would just, be, giant ultras there and fight the kaiju. If that's exactly how it worked, I don't quite recall. And it's a little confusing. It seems purposely vague to me. But anyway, that's what they're trying to do now, is to avert this kaiju crisis. I totally lost my point. By becoming more. So yeah, again, back to the alpha, beta, delta thing. So in order to do this, there has to be fighting. There has to be combat of some sort. And also, to keep it exciting for the medium, for us to watch it and read it and stuff. Anyway, but when they enter, so, the Ultra tells Shin, I'm ready to fight. I will fight and I will kill or destroy kaiju if I have to. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But remember that we need to fight them carefully. Remember, the K-rays are suspicious. And remember that this is not about destroying the kaiju. It's about averting the kaiju crisis and stopping them from destroying the Earth. It's about protecting the Earth, your planet, your people. So when they go into the situation with the professor and Fuji, the professor, the Ultra senses all this malice and resentment and stuff, and he's like, oh, this is like a perfect feeding ground for kaiju. Like, no wonder they're coming in. And he senses, I think, all the dimensional skewing or whatever, and sure enough, shortly after that, the kaiju come through. But what the Ultra says to Shin before they get into danger is, this man is full of resentment. Try to find a way to soothe him. So if you don't want the kaiju coming through, if you don't want the monsters destroying your life, you have to let go of your resentment and your hate and your anger and your frustration. And I just think that's super cool. So it's like, Ultraman, if he has to, he's gonna bust out the specium ray and he's gonna destroy 2 kaiju at once. But he'd rather go to the person who's hurting, who's hurt and pain, or creating a wound in the universe, basically, and allowing all this negativity to come through in the kaiju. He'd rather come and put his arm around the guy's shoulder and help him feel better, and that's going to solve the real problem. And I just think that's super cool. So yeah, I was trying to do the alpha male, the beta male, the delta male, like they're all going to do these different things to help you. Like, you know, the alpha male is going to punch you, the beta male is going to cringe, and you know, the delta male is going to come up and like look you in the face and say like, nah, knock it off, stop it. You're throwing yourself a pity party and no one wants to come, so stop it, and you're bringing everybody down. You know, chin up, dude. We're going to get through this. We're going to make it right. I just think it's really cool. So that's pretty much all I have to say for now. Last thing, I asked you to put a pin in the K-ray being dangerous or being suspect. Anyway, the K-ray seems to have injured Ultraman, but the professor turns it on Fuji and shoots her with the K-ray as well, or something that looks very much like a K-ray, and I'm going to assume that she's not actually dead. I'm going to assume that she's like transported or teleported somewhere else, maybe with wherever all the other Kaiju go when they get shot. And I'm wondering if maybe the Kaiju are dispatched in the same way they're teleported, transported somewhere else, and that's, you know, not good. It's not the proper way to deal with them. It's like covering over things and sweeping them under the rug. But if she's in fact thrown into a land of Kaiju, what the heck's going to happen to her? I wonder. It's kind of raises the stakes for her, doesn't it? But yeah, so like if the K-ray does in fact like transport or something like that, people, entities, Kaiju, or maybe it transports people and, you know, disrupts Kaiju and pushes them out of the dimension or whatever for now, only for them to come back later. How did it injure Ultraman? Like, is it because he has a different composition? Does it treat different beings differently based on like what they're made of, basically? Anyway, we'll see what happens with that. I'm suspecting that there will be a Fuji death fake out, and we'll see the results of that, and it'll reveal more information to us, and that'll be more interesting. So we'll see. Calling it now so I don't forget and then say, oh yeah, I thought this last time, but I forgot to say anything, so I don't sound like an idiot as much. As always, you can visit mjmunoz.com for more of my stuff, more of my work. Like I said, I do a lot of different things, so you can follow along over there, mjmunoz.com/STC for Swinging Through Comics, where you can find my other Ultra reviews. They're also going to be in a playlist linked in the video version of this. If you're listening to the audio only, like I said, check out the mjmunoz.com/STC for updates, for show notes, for some cool images that I put together for the show. And you can also check out some of my writing projects. I think I'll link the script that I wrote for the Tokusatsu inspired comic book. There's an Ultraman inspired character in there, and I don't know, they're fighting a monster or whatever, a couple monsters. There's some fun stuff going on in there, so you can check that out if you want. And that's pretty much it. There's also the support tab, or there's a menu with different podcasts, and there's also support up there, so you can check out my Ko-fi or my Redbubble and see if there's anything comics related there, or, you know, Ultraman related there that you might want to pick up. So anyway, that's all I have to say for now, folks. Take care, be well, and remember to be the hero you most need, or you needed in your most desperate hour, because you know, that's what it's all about. It's about paying it forward, paving the way for the next generation, and making sure we can keep spinning around on this beautiful blue ball we call Mother Earth.